The giant alien ships hung in Earth's sky like black storm clouds. For 3 months, they had blocked out the sun over every major city. Their weapons pointed down at the helpless world below. Children no longer played outside. Adults whispered in fear. The world had changed forever. Sarah Kim crouched in the abandoned subway tunnel beneath New York City. Around her, 30 other resistance fighters sat in the dim light of battery-powered lamps. Their faces showed the same mix of anger and fear that everyone felt these days. "They want an answer in 3 days," Sarah said quietly. "Kneel or burn." Those were their exact words. An older man named Jackson shook his head. "We all saw what they did to Mars Colony. 3 million people, gone in seconds. Just a flash of light, and then nothing." Sarah remembered watching the news that day. The alien ships had fired once. Mars Colony, humanity's pride and joy, had simply vanished. The message was clear. This is what happens when you resist. "So what do we do?" asked Maria, a young doctor who had joined them last week. "How do you fight something that can destroy an entire planet?" Sarah stood up slowly. She had been asking herself the same question for months. "We fight because we're human, because freedom is worth dying for, because someone has to stand up to bullies, even when they're bigger than us." Far away, in a hidden base beyond the planet Pluto, Admiral Lee Min-jun watched Earth through a powerful telescope. He could see the alien ships hanging over his home world like vultures. His hands were steady, but his heart was heavy. Everything they had worked for over the past 50 years had led to this moment. Lee turned to his second-in-command, Captain Torres. "How many ships do we have ready?" 412, sir. All hidden, all waiting for your orders." Lee nodded. The Midnight Fleet had been built in secret, one ship at a time, hidden in asteroid fields and behind distant moons. Most people on Earth didn't even know it existed. That was exactly how Lee wanted it. On Earth, the world leaders gathered in Geneva for an emergency meeting. President Chen of the United Earth Alliance looked tired and old. The alien ultimatum sat on the table in front of him like a poisonous snake. "They call themselves the Galactic Hegemony," Chen said to the room full of worried faces. "They control 90% of the galaxy. They have weapons we can't even understand. They want us to surrender completely." The British Prime Minister leaned forward. "What exactly does surrender mean?" Ambassador Chen Wei, the president's brother, read from the alien document. "Total submission. They will strip mine our planet for resources. Humans will become workers in their empire. Our culture, our language, our way of life, all of it will disappear." The room fell silent. Outside, millions of people waited for their leaders to make a choice: surrender or die. There seemed to be no third option. Back in the subway tunnel, Sarah received a message on her encrypted radio. The voice was calm and quiet, speaking in code. "The midnight hour approaches. Hold the line." Sarah's heart jumped. She recognized the voice, even though she hadn't heard it in 5 years. Commander Lee Min-jun, her old training officer. Everyone thought he was dead. The message could only mean one thing: there was still hope. The next day, the alien leader appeared on every screen on Earth. Overlord Zarthak was tall and gray, with black eyes that seemed to look right through people. When he spoke, his voice was cold and without emotion. "People of Earth," he said, "you have seen our power. You know resistance is useless. Your leaders have 48 hours to surrender. If they refuse, your world will burn like Mars Colony. Choose wisely." Sarah watched the broadcast from a hidden room above an old bookstore. Around her, the resistance fighters looked scared. Some were crying. Others just stared at the screen with empty eyes. "He's lying," Sarah said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. "Think about it. If they just wanted to destroy us, Why give us time to surrender? Why not just attack? Maybe they want our planet intact, suggested Maria. Sarah shook her head. There are millions of empty planets they could strip mine. No, they want us alive. They want workers, slaves, and that means they're not as strong as they pretend to be. In space near Jupiter, one of Lee's scout ships detected something interesting. A small alien patrol had separated from the main fleet. It was alone, vulnerable. Lee smiled for the first time in months. Send the message to Ghost Squadron, he ordered. Test their defenses. Make it look like pirates. The attack lasted only minutes. The alien ship never knew what hit it. By the time other alien ships arrived, the attackers had vanished into the dark between the planets. The aliens found only debris and confusion. On Earth, the countdown continued. News reporters spoke in hushed voices about humanity's final hours. Some people prayed, others rioted. Most just waited. In Geneva, the world leaders prepared to make their choice. President Chen looked around the room one last time. Is there anyone who believes we can win a war against them? Silence filled the room. Finally, Ambassador Chen Wei spoke. No, brother. There is no way to win, but sometimes surrender is just another kind of strategy. The president nodded slowly. He understood. His brother was telling him to trust, to have faith. Somewhere out there, someone was still fighting. As night fell over Earth, Sarah and her fighters prepared for whatever came next. They had weapons, they had courage, and now they had something else. A message from the darkness, promising that the midnight hour was coming. The aliens thought Earth would kneel. They were about to learn that humans don't kneel to anyone. The surrender ceremony took place in Times Square, New York. Cameras from around the world focused on the small stage where President Chen stood. Above them, 3 massive alien ships cast dark shadows over the crowd. Millions of people watched from their homes, their hearts heavy with defeat. Ambassador Chen Wei walked slowly to the microphone. His face showed the perfect mixture of sadness and acceptance. He looked like a man who had given up all hope, but those who knew him well could see something else in his eyes, a tiny spark of defiance. People of Earth, Chen Wei began, his voice shaking slightly. Today we must make the hardest choice in human history. We surrender to the galactic hegemony. We choose to live, even if it means we cannot live free. Overlord Zarthak stood nearby, his gray face showing no emotion. To him, this was just another planet joining his empire. He had conquered hundreds of worlds. Earth was nothing special. From this day forward, Chen Wei continued, Earth belongs to the hegemony. We will work for them. We will serve them. We ask only that you spare our children and let our species survive. The crowd was silent. Many people were crying. Others just stared at the ground. The moment felt like the end of everything. But in hidden rooms beneath the city, Sarah Kim and her fighters watched with different eyes. They saw Chen Wei touch his ear twice during the speech. They saw him pause at exactly the right moments. Every gesture was a signal. Every word carefully chosen. The surrender wasn't real. It was theater. After the ceremony, alien troops began landing in every major city. They looked like gray robots in black armor, carrying weapons that glowed with blue energy. They set up checkpoints and began processing humans for work assignments. Sarah's resistance cell had already moved to their backup location, a series of connected basements beneath the old financial district. They watched the aliens through hidden cameras and waited for their next orders. How long do we wait? Asked Jackson. The old man was nervous. Seeing alien soldiers in the streets made everything feel more real and more frightening. As long as it takes, Sarah replied. She remembered her training with Lee Min-jun years ago. He had taught her that patience was a weapon. Sometimes the best attack was to wait for the perfect moment. Far out in space, beyond Pluto, Admiral Lee Min-jun stood in the command center of his flagship, the Hidden Blade. Around him, holographic displays showed every alien ship in the solar system. He had been watching and learning for 3 months. Now he finally understood how they thought. "Captain Torres," Lee said quietly, "begin Phase 2. Signal the Ghost Fleet to move into position." Torres nodded and sent the coded message. Across the outer solar system, ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields and behind moons began to move. They were painted black as space itself and moved without any lights. Even their engines were silent. Each ship was small compared to the alien vessels, but what they lacked in size, they made up for in speed and stealth. These ships had been designed for one purpose: to fight an enemy that was bigger and stronger. Dr. Park Hye-jin floated in the zero gravity of her laboratory aboard Lee's flagship. Around her, computer screens showed the results of 50 years of secret research. Humanity's scientists had been preparing for this day since they first looked at the stars and wondered what else might be out there. "Admiral," she called to Lee through the communication system, "the new weapon systems are ready. Each torpedo can punch through their shield technology. We tested it on the ship debris from yesterday's attack." Lee smiled. Yesterday's pirate attack had given them more than just a victory. It had given them intelligence. Now they knew exactly how alien shields worked and how to destroy them. On Earth, the aliens began their work. They had divided the planet into zones and started strip mining operations. Giant machines appeared from their ships and began tearing up forests and mountains. The hegemony had done this on hundreds of worlds. To them, it was just business. But something was wrong. The humans were too cooperative. There were no riots, no desperate attacks on alien soldiers. The surrender seemed complete, but Overlord Zarthak felt uneasy. "Commander Vex," he called to his second-in-command, "have our scouts found any human military installations?" "No, my lord. Their military was primitive. A few space stations, some orbital platforms. Nothing that could threaten us." Zarthak frowned. He had conquered worlds where the natives fought until the very end. Even when defeat was certain, someone always tried to resist. The humans were being too quiet. Sarah's resistance network had spread across the globe during the months before surrender. Now they used that network to help people disappear. Entire families vanished from alien work camps. Scientists and engineers seemed to evaporate into thin air. The aliens noticed, but they assumed humans were just dying from despair. They were wrong. The missing people were being moved to underground cities that had been built in secret over many years. Beneath the Rocky Mountains, under the Australian outback, and in the depths of the Sahara Desert, humanity was hiding its most valuable people. 2 weeks after the surrender, the first real attack began. A small alien patrol ship was investigating strange readings near Jupiter's moons. Without warning, it simply exploded. One moment it was there, the next, it was just debris floating in space. The aliens sent 3 ships to investigate. They found nothing. No attackers, no evidence, just the wreckage of their patrol ship floating in the dark. "Pirates again," Commander Vex reported to Overlord Zarthak. "The galaxy has many small criminal groups. Nothing to worry about." But Zarthak was beginning to worry. 3 ships in 2 weeks, all destroyed by invisible attackers. This was starting to look like more than random piracy. On Earth, Sarah received another coded message. This time it was longer. "The garden is ready. The seeds are planted. When the flowers bloom, the world will see beauty again." She translated the code quickly. The Midnight Fleet was in position. The real war was about to begin. All they had to do was hold on a little longer and keep the aliens believing that humanity had given up. But holding on was getting harder. Every day, more humans disappeared into alien work camps. Every day, more of Earth's beauty was stripped away by mining machines. Sarah's people were getting angry and desperate. "When do we fight back?" Maria asked during one of their secret meetings. How long do we let them tear apart our world? Sarah looked at the young doctor with understanding. We fight when fighting will win, not before. Outside their hidden room, alien soldiers marched through the empty streets. Above them, the massive ships blocked out the stars. But somewhere in the darkness between the planets, humanity's hidden fleet was getting ready to remind the galaxy that humans don't stay down when they're knocked over. They get back up, and they hit back harder. The explosion lit up the night sky over London. Sarah and her team watched from their hidden rooftop as an alien patrol craft crashed into the Thames River. Black smoke rose from the wreckage like a dark finger pointing at the stars. "Move now," Sarah whispered into her radio. "Security teams will be here in minutes." Her fighters melted away into the shadows of the ruined city. They had been planning this attack for weeks, making it look like an accident. A gas line explosion, they would say. Random bad luck. But Sarah knew better. This was the beginning of something much bigger. 3 days earlier, alien soldiers had discovered one of their weapon caches in an abandoned subway station. The fighters barely escaped, but now the hegemony knew that humans were still resisting. Overlord Zarthak had ordered brutal punishments for any acts of rebellion. This morning, 100 innocent people had been executed in the city square. Their crime was living too close to where the weapons were found. Sarah watched it happen through binoculars, her hands shaking with rage. That evening, the alien patrol craft had suffered an accident. Far above Earth's atmosphere, something was moving through the darkness between the planets. The alien sensors couldn't detect it because it wasn't supposed to exist. The ship was painted black as the void itself and moved without any heat signature. To anyone watching, it was just another piece of space debris. Inside the stealth ship, Captain Yuki Tanaka studied her target through the view screen. An alien supply convoy was moving from their main fleet toward Earth. 3 large ships carrying mining equipment and weapons, with only 2 escort fighters. "Range to target?" she asked her weapons officer. 12,000 kilometers and closing, Captain. They still haven't seen us." Yuki smiled. Her ship, the Silent Storm, was one of Admiral Lee's finest creations. It had been built in secret in an asteroid mining facility near Saturn. To the outside world, they were just mining rocks. In reality, they were building humanity's hidden sword. Fire torpedoes, full spread. The Silent Storm's weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Instead of energy beams or missiles, they fired small black spheres that moved through space like bullets. Each sphere was designed to slice through alien shielding technology using insights stolen from the wreckage of previous battles. The alien convoy never knew what hit them. The lead ship simply broke apart in a shower of sparks and debris. The 2 escort fighters tried to turn and fight, but they were facing an enemy they couldn't even see. In 30 seconds, all 5 ships were destroyed. By the time alien reinforcements arrived, the Silent Storm was gone, vanishing back into the dark between the worlds. Admiral Lee Min-jun watched the battle from his command center and nodded with satisfaction. It was the 15th successful attack this month. Each strike was carefully planned to look random, like the work of space pirates or equipment failures. The aliens were starting to get nervous, but they still didn't understand what they were really facing. "Sir," Captain Torres reported, "we're receiving transmission from Earth. It's Commander Kim." Sarah's voice filled the command center, speaking in the coded language Lee had taught her years ago. "The garden is growing restless. The weeds are spreading faster. We need the rain to come soon." Lee understood immediately. The resistance was under pressure. The aliens were cracking down harder on the population. It was time to escalate the war. "Send this message to all fleet commanders," Lee ordered. "Phase 3 begins at midnight. It's time to show them what we really are." On Earth, the alien occupation was becoming more brutal every day. Overlord Zarthak had moved his command ship into orbit directly above New York City. From there, he could watch over the entire planet and respond quickly to any problems. But the problems were getting worse. Supply ships kept disappearing. Patrol craft suffered mysterious accidents. Equipment broke down at exactly the wrong moments. It was like the humans had cursed his entire operation. "Commander Vex," Zarthak called to his aide. "How many ships have we lost this month?" 27, my lord, but they were all small vessels, probably pirates or equipment failures." Zarthak's black eyes narrowed. 27 ships in 1 month? In a system we completely control? Something is wrong here. Deep underground, in the hidden city beneath the Rocky Mountains, thousands of humans lived and worked in secret. They had food, water, and air recycling systems that could keep them alive for years. Most importantly, they had weapons factories. Dr. Park Hae-jin supervised the production lines where human engineers built the tools of rebellion, guns that could penetrate alien armor, bombs that could destroy their mining machines, communication devices that could coordinate resistance cells across the globe. "How many units this week?" she asked her production chief. 3,000 rifles, 500 rocket launchers, and 200 communication sets. We're also finishing the new factory in Australia. It should double our output." Park smiled. The aliens thought they had conquered Earth. They had no idea that beneath their feet, humanity was building an army. The first coordinated attack began exactly at midnight, Earth time. In London, Sarah's team destroyed an alien communication tower with a perfectly placed explosive charge. In Tokyo, resistance fighters ambushed an alien patrol and disappeared into the subway tunnels. In Los Angeles, someone poisoned the water supply at an alien base, causing dozens of soldiers to become violently sick. Around the globe, 100 small attacks happened at the same moment. Each one was carefully planned to cause maximum damage while looking like random acts of terrorism. In space, Admiral Lee launched his most daring operation yet. 20 of his stealth ships surrounded the alien mining station on Luna, Earth's moon. The aliens had turned the moon into a massive strip mine, tearing up the surface to harvest rare metals. "All ships report ready," Captain Torres announced. Lee nodded. "Begin the attack." The lunar mining station had 50 alien workers and only light defenses. The aliens had never imagined anyone could attack them there. The stealth ships struck like ghosts in the night, destroying the mining equipment and leaving the workers stranded. But Lee had a special message to send. Instead of killing the workers, his ships surrounded them and forced them to watch as one of the stealth ships decloaked, revealing itself for the first time. The alien workers stared in shock at the sleek black vessel. They had expected human ships to be primitive and crude. Instead, they saw something that looked more advanced than their own technology. "Send this message to their command ship," Lee ordered. "Tell them that Earth remembers how to bite." Back on Earth, Overlord Zarthak received the message from his stranded workers. For the first time since arriving in the solar system, he felt a cold touch of fear. The message was simple and terrifying. The humans aren't beaten. They were just getting ready. Sarah stood on the rooftop of her hidden base and looked up at the alien ships hanging in Earth's sky. But now those ships didn't seem quite so invincible. Somewhere in the darkness above, humanity's hidden fleet was moving. The real war had finally begun. The aliens had demanded that Earth kneel. Now they were about to learn that humans don't kneel. They fight. The alarm screamed through Overlord Zarthak's command ship as another patrol vessel disappeared from his sensors. That made 32 ships lost in the past week. This was no longer random piracy. Someone was hunting his fleet. "Where did it happen?" Zarthak demanded, his gray face twisted with anger. "Near the asteroid belt, my lord," Commander Vex replied nervously. "The patrol ship was investigating unusual energy readings. Then it just vanished." "Vanished?" Zarthak slammed his fist on the control panel. "Ships don't just vanish. Find me these attackers!" What Zarthak didn't know was that Admiral Lee Min-jun had positioned his entire midnight fleet throughout the solar system. For 50 years, humans had been building ships and hiding them behind asteroids, inside gas-giant atmospheres, and in the dark space beyond Pluto. Now those ships were everywhere, striking like shadows before melting back into the darkness. On Earth, Sarah Kim stood in the ruins of what used to be Central Park. The alien mining machines had torn up the trees and grass, leaving only gray dirt and metal. But tonight, something was different. She could hear explosions in the distance, and alien patrol aircraft were racing overhead in panic. "Sarah!" came a voice from her radio. It was Marcus, one of her cell leaders. "Something big is happening." "The aliens are pulling back their ground troops. They're loading them onto their ships as fast as they can." Sarah smiled for the first time in months. She knew what this meant. Lee's fleet had finally revealed itself, and the aliens were scared. In space above Earth, chaos was spreading through the hegemony fleet. Ships that had been confidently orbiting the planet for months now huddled together in defensive formations. But they didn't know what they were defending against. Captain Yuki Tanaka's stealth ship, the Silent Storm, drifted quietly behind Earth's largest moon. From there, she could see the entire enemy fleet spread out before her like targets in a shooting gallery. Her ship was one of 50 stealth vessels that had moved into Earth's orbit during the night. "All ships report ready," she whispered into her communication system. Admiral Lee's voice came back through the static. "Begin the storm. Show them what Earth really is." What happened next would be remembered for 1,000 years. The attack began at exactly noon, Earth time. 50 stealth ships decloaked simultaneously around the alien fleet. The massive enemy vessels suddenly found themselves surrounded by sleek black ships that seemed to appear out of nowhere. The first alien ship to die was a heavy cruiser stationed over Europe. 3 of Lee's ships hit it from different directions, their black torpedoes slicing through its shields like they weren't even there. The cruiser broke apart in a brilliant explosion that lit up the sky over London. But that was just the beginning. All around Earth's orbit, alien ships found themselves under attack by enemies they had never seen before. The human ships moved like dancers, sliding between the clumsy alien vessels and striking at their weak points with surgical precision. Overlord Zarthak watched in horror as his mighty fleet began to fall apart. "How many ships are attacking us?" he screamed. "Sensors show at least 50 contacts," came the panicked reply. "But they're moving too fast to get accurate readings. And their weapons, they're cutting through our shields like they don't exist." "Impossible!" Zarthak snarled. "Humans are primitive. Their technology is centuries behind ours." But the evidence was right in front of him. Another of his ships exploded as small black vessels swarmed around it like angry insects. These weren't primitive human ships. They were something completely new and terrifying. Down on Earth's surface, humans emerged from their hiding places to watch the battle in the sky above. In every city, in every town, people pointed up at the flashes of light that marked the destruction of their oppressors' ships. Sarah stood with her resistance fighters on a rooftop in Manhattan and watched alien ships burning like falling stars. Tears ran down her face, but they were tears of joy. "My God," whispered Maria, the young doctor who had joined them months ago. "We're winning. We're actually winning." But Sarah knew the real battle was just beginning. In space, Admiral Lee was about to show the galaxy something that would change everything. The Admiral's flagship, the Hidden Blade, had been waiting in the shadow of the moon. Now it moved into the light, revealing itself for the first time. The ship was massive, larger than anything the aliens had ever seen from Earth. It was a weapon built specifically for this moment. "Open a communication channel to all enemy vessels," Lee ordered quietly. His image appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet. Zarthak stared at the calm human face and felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: fear. "I am Admiral Lee Min-jun of the Earth Defense Force," Lee said in perfect galactic standard language. "You came to our world and demanded that we kneel. You threatened our children and destroyed our colonies. You thought we were weak." Lee paused, letting his words sink in. Around him, the battle continued as human ships methodically destroyed their enemies. "You were wrong. We are not weak. We have been preparing for this day for 50 years. Every ship you see, every weapon we carry, was built for one purpose: to show bullies that free people don't kneel to anyone." Zarthak tried to respond, but Lee cut him off. "You have one chance to save your remaining ships and crews. Surrender now, and we will allow you to leave our solar system. Refuse, and we will send you to join your fallen comrades." The Overlord's face twisted with rage. "You think 50 little ships can defeat the might of the galactic hegemony? I have reinforcements coming. When they arrive, your primitive world will burn." Lee smiled coldly. "Your reinforcements were destroyed 6 hours ago in the Centauri system. And those 50 ships you see? They're just the first wave." As if responding to his words, space around Earth suddenly filled with new contacts. Hundreds of ships decloaked simultaneously, emerging from hiding spots throughout the inner solar system. The true size of humanity's hidden fleet was finally revealed. The aliens stared in shock at the massive armada surrounding them. Each human ship was smaller than their vessels, but there were so many of them, and they moved with a coordination and purpose that spoke of decades of careful planning. "Impossible," Zarthak whispered. "How could a primitive species build so many ships without us knowing?" "Because you never bothered to really look," Lee replied. "You saw what you expected to see. A weak, divided species that would be easy to conquer. You never imagined that we might be smart enough to hide our strength until we needed it." The battle around Earth was turning into a massacre. The alien ships, designed to intimidate primitive worlds, were no match for vessels specifically created to fight them. Human torpedoes punched through alien armor like paper. Human ships danced around the clumsy enemy vessels, striking and vanishing before the aliens could respond. On Earth, Sarah and her fighters watched as more alien ships fell from the sky. The massive vessels that had hung over their cities like symbols of oppression were burning wrecks now, tumbling toward the ocean or crashing into empty fields. "Send the signal," Sarah ordered. "Tell all resistance cells to move to Phase 4. Across the planet, hidden weapon caches opened. Underground factories began producing ammunition at full capacity. The population that had seemed beaten and broken suddenly rose up with weapons they had been secretly building for months. The aliens had thought Earth was conquered. Instead, they had walked into the greatest trap in galactic history. In space, Admiral Lee prepared to deliver the final blow. His flagship charged its main weapon, a device that had taken 20 years to design and build. It was time to show the hegemony what happened when free people decided to fight back. The storm was breaking over Earth, and when it was over, the galaxy would know that humanity had arrived. Overlord Zarthak's flagship shuddered as another wave of human torpedoes struck its hull. Half of his fleet was already destroyed, burning pieces of metal tumbling through space around Earth. The humans had turned his great victory into a nightmare. "My lord," Commander Vex reported with panic in his voice, "our main reactor is failing. We've lost weapons. Shields are at 10%. We must retreat." "Never!" Zarthak screamed, his gray face twisted with rage. "I will not be defeated by these primitive apes. Ready the planet killer weapon." The alien commander's last hope was a terrible weapon hidden in the core of his ship. It could crack a planet's crust and boil away its atmosphere. If he couldn't rule Earth, he would make sure no one could. Admiral Lee Min-jun watched from his flagship as energy readings spiked from the alien command ship. His face remained calm, but inside his heart was racing. He had expected this. Bullies always chose to destroy what they couldn't control. "All ships," Lee ordered quietly. "Emergency intercept pattern. Protect Earth at all costs." But Lee had one more surprise for the aliens. something that would end this war forever. Dr. Park Hae-jin floated in her laboratory aboard Lee's flagship, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. For 50 years, she had studied alien technology, learning how their ships worked, how their weapons functioned. Now she was about to use that knowledge to save her world. "Admiral," she called through the communication system, "the virus is ready for upload. If I can get into their computer systems, I can turn their own ships against them." "Do it," Lee replied. The virus was humanity's secret weapon. It was a computer program designed to infiltrate alien systems and take control of their ships. The aliens had never imagined that primitive humans could create something so advanced. On Earth, Sarah Kim and her fighters watched the sky light up with explosions as the space battle raged overhead. But now they could see something else. Alien troop transports were landing in every major city, disgorging thousands of soldiers in black armor. "They're making a final push," Sarah said into her radio. "All resistance cells, this is it. Everything we've worked for comes down to the next hour." Around the world, hidden weapons caches opened like flowers blooming in spring. Humans emerged from underground bunkers carrying guns and bombs they had secretly built during the long months of occupation. The population that had seemed defeated suddenly revealed itself as an army that had been waiting for this moment. In New York, alien soldiers found themselves facing human fighters who knew every street, every building, every hiding place. In London, resistance cells struck at communication towers and supply depots with surgical precision. In Tokyo, Beijing, Moscow, and Mumbai, the story was the same. Humanity was fighting back with everything they had. Maria, the young doctor who had joined Sarah's cell months ago, crouched behind an overturned car with a rifle in her hands. She had never imagined she would become a soldier, but the aliens had given her no choice. "Remember," Sarah said through the radio, "we're not trying to win the ground war. We just need to keep them busy while Admiral Lee finishes the job in space." Above them, the space battle was reaching its climax. Zarthak's planet-killer weapon was almost ready to fire. The massive energy cannon extended from his ship like a black finger pointing at Earth. In minutes, it would release enough power to crack the planet like an egg. But Admiral Lee had moved his entire fleet into a protective formation around Earth. Hundreds of human ships formed a shield between the alien weapon and their home world. They were willing to sacrifice themselves to save the billions of people below. "All ships," Lee broadcast, "it has been an honor to serve with you. Today we prove that freedom is worth any price." The human fleet prepared to die to save their world. But Dr. Park had other plans. Her virus struck at exactly the right moment. As the alien command ship charged its planet-killer weapon, Park's program slipped into their computer systems like a ghost. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their firewalls were designed to stop brute force attacks, not something this subtle and clever. In seconds, the virus spread through Zarthak's entire ship. Critical systems began shutting down, weapons turned off, life support flickered, and most importantly, the planet-killer weapon powered down just moments before it would have fired. "What's happening?" Zarthak screamed at his terrified crew. "Why aren't our systems responding?" His answer came from Dr. Park's voice, speaking through his own communication system. "Because humans don't just build better ships, we build better minds. Your computers belong to us now." All around Earth's orbit, the remaining alien ships began behaving strangely. Some powered down completely. Others turned their weapons on their own allies. The virus had spread through their entire fleet, turning their own technology against them. On the surface, alien soldiers found themselves cut off from their ships, their communication systems dead, their reinforcements gone. Human resistance fighters pressed their advantage, striking hard at confused and isolated enemy troops. Sarah's team stormed an alien command post in Manhattan, finding the gray soldiers huddled around communication equipment that no longer worked. Without their technology, without their support from space, the invaders looked small and frightened. "Surrender!" Sarah called out, her rifle trained on the alien commander. "Your fleet is finished. Your invasion is over." The alien officer looked at her with black eyes full of confusion and fear. He had conquered dozens of worlds, but he had never faced anything like this. These humans had turned his greatest strength into his greatest weakness. In space, Admiral Lee opened a communication channel to the crippled alien fleet. His voice carried across the void to every surviving ship. "Warriors of the hegemony," he said calmly, "your war is over. Your ships are under our control. Your troops are surrounded. You came here believing that might makes right. Today you learned that intelligence and preparation can defeat even overwhelming force." Lee paused, looking at the burning remains of the once mighty fleet. "You have a choice now. Surrender honorably, and we will treat you as prisoners of war. Your wounded will be cared for. Your survivors will be fed and sheltered. Refuse, and we will leave you to drift in space until your life support runs out." One by one, the remaining alien ships sent surrender signals. Their crews were beaten, their leaders captured or dead, their mighty fleet reduced to scattered wreckage. Overlord Zarthak was the last to surrender. His flagship drifted powerless in Earth's orbit, its planet-killer weapon permanently disabled. The proud commander who had demanded Earth's submission now found himself begging for mercy. "This isn't possible," he whispered as human Marines boarded his ship. "Humans are supposed to be primitive, weak. How could you defeat us?" Admiral Lee himself came aboard to accept the surrender. He looked at the broken alien leader with something that might have been pity. "You made the same mistake that bullies always make," Lee said quietly. "You confused kindness with weakness. You thought that because we wanted peace, we couldn't fight. You were wrong." As the last of the alien soldiers laid down their weapons, Sarah Kim stood in Times Square and looked up at the sky. The massive ships that had blocked out the sun for months were gone, replaced by the sleek forms of Earth's hidden fleet. People emerged from hiding places all over the city, blinking in sunlight they hadn't seen in too long. Children pointed up at the human ships and laughed. Adults hugged each other and cried tears of joy. Ambassador Chen Wei, who had played his role as a defeated diplomat so perfectly, now stood before the cameras of the world with a very different message. "Today humanity has proven something important to the galaxy," he said, his voice strong and proud. "We have shown that free people will never kneel to tyrants. We have demonstrated that intelligence and unity can overcome any oppression. And we have sent a message to every bully in the stars. Earth remembers how to fight." In the weeks that followed, news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy. Other worlds that had been conquered by the hegemony began their own rebellions. The empire that had seemed invincible for centuries started to crumble as its subject peoples rose up. Admiral Lee was offered command of a new galactic alliance, but he chose to return to Earth. His job was done. The Midnight Fleet had served its purpose. "What will you do now?" Sarah asked him when they finally met in person. Lee looked up at the stars, no longer hidden behind alien ships. "I think I'll go home to my garden. After 50 years of preparing for war, it's time to prepare for peace." Sarah nodded. She understood. The fight was over. Earth was free. And in the darkness between the stars, other worlds were learning that even the mightiest empire could fall when free people decided they had enough. The aliens had commanded Earth to kneel. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy how to stand.